Welcome, guys. Just giving the players the go-ahead. We are here for my personal favorite match of the round, Triangles and Conflict, CALLOUS Invitational 3 Round 1 action. And here I am, live narration, best narration, as they say. Let's see how this one goes. Of note, I'm not going to make excuses for any player, even if this is completely truthful and valid. But of note, Triangles has been saying for the past half hour or so that he's really not feeling well. He ate something that is not agreeing with his stomach, and he's reaping the repercussions. How much that ends up affecting his play, we will see, but they're going to play it out regardless of the circumstances. So Triangles is on the bottom. He has a T-Tower lead. It's a Zapdos lead on the top for Conflict. They both stay in for 2 turns. It ends up being a Rock Slide and a Protect, and now a T-Wave and an over-predicted Earthquake. However, the T-Wave is lummed away, which matters. The lum definitely is relevant, but it's not the most punishing thing that could have happened. So it's weird. It's a DD lum lead, Tar. Maybe it's really important for the team that Triangles is running to establish the sand early on. He switches it up, goes Rock Slide here. Was willing to eat the T-Wave, but Conflict switches at this point back to Conflict switches. I don't know if I said Swampert switches. I might have gotten tongue-tied there. What I meant was that Conflict switches to Swampert. Rock Slide misses anyway, not that it would have done big damage to the Rock Resist. But yeah, it's interesting that Triangles leads with what I presume to be a DD Tar. Like I said, it might just be really important that he gets sand down early. It also might just be that he doesn't have something else he's comfortable leading with. He shows Scarm here, and lead Scarm is sometimes a thing, but it's outdated and you're begging for Magneton. So there's some awkward turn 1 situations. It's also really bad against the very common lead of Zapdos. So I think lead Scarm in today's metagame is a little bit sketchy. Hydro Pump and Spikes respectively here. Now Starmie coming in for Triangles. Hydro Pump is going to miss on that. That could matter, especially if it's a non-recover Starmie, then all the damage that happens, even if Hydro Pump wouldn't have done a ton, it could matter. There's been 2 Hydro Pump misses already out of 3, so not the greatest as far as hitting those, but I don't know how many of them have super mattered. The one on Scarm certainly matters. That's a poke you want to hit with Hydro Pump. And the fact that Triangles has Hydro Pump on his Starmie probably means that it is actually on the offensive side of things and maybe does not have Recover. So maybe that miss did actually matter from Conflict's end. So Conflict has a Lax now that's already down to 56%. That's pretty low. He got nailed by the Hydro Pump, and of course he had to step on the Spike on the way in. What he wants to do from here is unclear. Triangles goes Gengar just in case there's an immediate boom, but there is not. It's a curse on the switch. +1 Shadow Ball threatening here, so is the possibility of Will-O-Wisp. These pokes are dangerous to each other. Scarm comes in, and it's a switch from Conflict. Goes to his T-Tower, which was previously unrevealed. We see that it does have leftovers. I'd probably, well, it really depends. It's so hard to say without knowing Triangle's exact team. Fire Blast is something to think about. A switch to something like the Zapdos is something to think about. But I mean, if you think he's just going to zap, then you might just Spike, right? He does play around the Fire Blast. Turns out he's right to do so. And Triangles goes back to his own Tar, which is not gaining lefties because we saw earlier that it had a Lumberry that was popped by the Zapdos T-Wave. Swampert comes in as the counter. Earthquake there. Decent damage, 38%. We've seen Earthquake and Rock Slide only, but I would really feel strongly in assuming that it's a Dragon Dancer. What the last move is yet to be determined. Could be the classic HP Bug. Could also be Ice Beam or HP Grass. Could be something weird like Double Edge or whatever, but it's probably one of the 3 things that I just listed. Staring each other down here. Swampert, we already know has Hydro Pump, though he's not very good at hitting it. And he switches it up to Earthquake instead. That's going to do big damage. 51% on Starmie is no joke. The question is here, does he want to push it? He can kill the Starmie here, for sure, with another Earthquake plus the Sand. But it might cost him a lot of HP in exchange via Hydro Pump. And the perk could be valuable if that is his primary or only answer to the opposing DD Tar. And the Triangle's Tar is relatively healthy. Oh wow, Conflict does stay in and go for it. He's going to get rocked by a surprise HP Grass. That is devastating. That is exactly what Conflict did not want to happen. And that's going to be a big advantage for Triangles there. That was a really big play. So Conflict finds himself down a poke. He does follow up with Zapdos here to scare away the Starmie, presumably. I can't imagine Starmie stays in here, but then again, we haven't seen anything from Triangles thus far that looks like it actually wants to eat one of these. There we go. There's a special wall. There is a Regice. None of those other ones, the T-Tar, the Skarm, the Gengar, and of course the Starmie itself, none of those really want to switch into Zapdos T-Bolts. Not that Regice loves switching into it. I mean, 27% is more than nothing, but he can handle it relatively well. And that's going to prompt a switch for Conflict. There is Ice Beam, 34%. Regice is a special wall. It's just not as sturdy or reliable as either Lax or certainly Blissey. It's kind of an offensive-minded special wall in that it hits pretty hard with certainly Stab Ice Beam and also T-Bolt, but very importantly, it has Boom and can be really good bait for a number of things. While even with the withdraw bonus, Pursuit only does 18%. That really doesn't feel that worth it for Conflict. I guess he really doesn't like the Regice and is just doing whatever he can do to get damage on it. End up on a star-on-star situation here. Let's see. Sand hits Triangles first. So it's either a speed tie or we have a faster Starmie on the bottom for Triangles, which, yeah, I mean, if Triangles is faster, Conflict has to be careful. We know there's at least an HP Grass from the star. No, it is a tie. Conflict actually goes first. That's a huge turn. That could have very well gone badly there. Had it not been a tie and Triangles is just faster, or if Triangles simply wins the tie, he'd be up 6-4 right now, and Conflict would be in a very bad position. But with Conflict getting the benefit of winning this 50-50, and this is a really important turn potentially. This turn could matter all throughout the game. This could be a huge, huge turning point. We now find ourselves, instead of a 6-4, in a 5-5, and the outcome of this game is now much less clear, and it can go either way. Regice comes in now. Hasn't actually shown Thunderbolt, I don't believe. No, but every Regice ever has Thunderbolt, so Conflict has to be aware of that. His team looks a little bit sketchy against Bolt Beam. Lax handles it decently, but it's low, and the spike is down. What's it at, 56? Yeah, 56%. I don't know, especially if it has immunity as opposed to Thick Fat, which is almost universal at this point. The Stab Ice Beam would do a pretty decent chunk. I don't know if Conflict loves any of his options here. Now, granted, because he's staring down Starmie, this might be a Thunderbolt turn instead of an Ice Beam turn. But I don't know what that changes from Conflict's end. He doesn't have a ground immunity or something that can just sneak in here on a probable Thunderbolt. Like, right now could be an interesting time to go to Flygon. Now, granted, even that could backfire in a huge way if it gets hit with Ice Beam. But there's no way that it's Flygon from Conflict, right? I mean, his team would just be so Skarmory weak if that were the case. I can't imagine that that's the last poke. I was just using that as an example, as a theoretical Thunderbolt immune that you could have here. I guess it could be like Celebi, which again runs the risk of getting clocked by the Ice Beam, but he would come in on Thunderbolt fine. It's Conflict who's using the time here. It's going to fall on him as to what to do. I can't imagine the Triangles made this play just to switch out here. Almost certainly, Triangles is going to use some kind of attack here. It also could just be a status move. You could just fling a T-Wave or a Toxic, but I think the logical plays here are either Ice Beam or Thunderbolt based on what you predict. If I'm Triangles, and it's hard without knowing his last poke and his sets and all that, I think I would Thunderbolt here. And he agrees. That's going to hit Meta, which is the last poke, and that is going to get unluckily paralyzed there. See if that ends up mattering. Meta is typically one of the very best Regice answers in the game, and that the Ice Beams bounce off it, it handles the Thunderbolts well enough, and that Meteor Mash just absolutely donks Regice. Skarm comes in. There is the obvious Meteor Mash. Critical hit for Conflict. That might help. Of note, Metagross not gaining lefties, and he doesn't have Lum either, because he would have just gotten rid of the Para, so I guess Choice Band Metagross? No, that doesn't seem right either, because then a critical hit would have done more damage, I think, than 48%. 48% on a crit? That can't be right. So I believe, with no lefties, no Lum, and what I think is no Choice Band, I think we're looking at some kind of Pinch Berry here, like a Lychee Berry set or something along those lines. If that's the case, then the Para really sucks more than it would normally, but I think that might be what we're looking at, some kind of Pinch Berry. And Zapdos here is going to go for the T-Bolt into the Skarm. That will be protected against. Final poke not revealed yet for Triangles, though I think we could take a couple of educated guesses as to what that poke might be. Swampert, I think, being the obvious candidate, but has not shown yet. Conflict takes the lead here, and I say lead with air quotes because, yes, 5-4, he's technically winning, but I don't actually know that I love Conflict's position in this game. So he's got the Paralyzed Meta. He has an item. We don't know what it is. I think it's a Pinch Berry. We've got the relatively weakened Lax. 56 is not like weak per se, but he's going to have a hard time switching in. There's still that spike down. Starmie at 51%, T-Tar at 67, of course the Zapdos here that has not shown its last move, but it is all but certainly some kind of hidden power, probably Grass. On Triangle's end, he's got this T-Tar here that had its Lum popped, but he's healthy. Gengar at 100, Regice at 55, and of course the last poke that is yet to be determined, I think it is Swampert. Lax comes in here. He's on the bad end of a 33% Rock Slide. He will die here to, well, just about anything. I think you just EQ if you're Triangles and you just don't even risk the miss. He could Rock Slide if he's that paranoid about Zapdos switching in here, but I think Earthquake is fine, and that's probably what he'll do. He'll probably just outspeed and kill the Lax here. Triangle's the one taking the time here. Yeah, wow, he's dipping down to 30 seconds here. He's really considering, does Conflict have the balls to go back to Zapdos here? But ultimately, he just decides on Earthquake. That turns out to be right. Down goes the Lax, and we've got ourselves a 4-4. Shock! The last poke is Swampert. And Hydro Pump is going to get him for 48% on the way in. Starmie definitely in range to where Earthquake plus Sand, or probably just Earthquake, realistically, would be enough to take him out. There's the Zapdos switch. Wow! There's the critical hit Hydro Pump. That was back-breaking. Zapdos would have lived the non-crit. He has HP Grass, presumably, and that would have been a really hard Pokemon at this stage of the game for Triangles to safely switch into. Back-breaking critical hit there. Conflict with the chance to get his own critical hit. Does not get it. And it looks to me now like Triangles has this game in the bag. Maybe this T-Tar can pull out a miracle. Maybe. But it's a special Tar. So I can't imagine that that is a sweeper in this situation. Remember, the meta is paralyzed. That crit was back-breaking. Conflict has said his GGs. He hasn't conceded yet, but he believes this is the end for him. He is clinging to dear life and trying to play it out. We've seen Pursuit. There could be a crunch here. Maybe he gets a lucky crit or something to kill the Gengar. Trying to find any way that he can find to get out of this game. There's a Thunderbolt. He takes it really well. And Fire Blast there. Does he not have Crunch? He's shown Fire Blast, Pursuit, HP Grass. Maybe this is that old M-Dragon set that actually doesn't have Crunch and is just bluffing it. And the last move is actually something like Rock Slide or Focus Punch. Looks like he will still be able to trade with Gengar here, but he's going to be on his deathbed when all is said and done. Triangles, of course, can simply just crit him or paralyze him here, but Triangles doesn't need luck to get out of this situation. Yeah, I don't think the T-Tar actually has Crunch. I think it's last move, Ice Beam, or Rock Slide, or Focus Punch, or something along those lines. Earthquake kills Tar, and that probably should be it. It'd have to be one hell of a bulky Metagross to live from here. I believe this game is over on this turn. Triangle's saying his GG's. He believes the same. Believe we are moments away from going to a game 2. Conflict, given the frowny face, seems he realizes this one is not going his way. Couple of bad things happened to Conflict in this game for sure. He had Hydro Pump misses of his own. He was on the bad end of a Hydro Pump crit that obviously mattered. There was the para on the meta. There was definitely some stuff. The hacks did not go this way. Did not go his way for Conflict. But it's best of 3 for a reason. If Conflict loses this game, which looks like a certainty at this point, there is a second and a potentially third game for a reason. Maybe the hacks can turn around. Maybe they'll be more neutral and Conflict can outplay. That is yet to be determined. But this one belongs to Triangles. They're having a little chit-chat. It's certainly their prerogative to do that. Just waiting for the click, and there it is. There's the Earthquake. Down goes the meta, and game 1 is going to go to Triangles. I'm going to keep it all one video, so stand by for game 2. Gonna get a trusty drink of milk here, as you guys can hear my loud slurping milk down sounds on the mic. Heads up. Hood Hole milk, boys. Good stuff. In fact, we're going back for a round 2 here. Give me a sec. Whew. Hot diddy damn. Love me some milk. I drink a gallon a day, and I'm not joking. Legit, not hyperbole, literally 1 gallon of whole milk every day for the past 2 decades. That's the thing. That is what I do. Anyhow, back to Pokemon stuff. Oh, just kidding. I don't even have to talk about the previous game. Here's game 2. It's underway. Letting the players know that they can do their thing, and here we are. So Conflict is, let me just switch sides to get them where they were before. Put Conflict on the top now. So Triangle's on the bottom, Conflict on the top, as it was in game 1, just to not confuse you guys. And they both are going to lead with a Salamence here. Intimidate could matter in both cases. If it is a CB Mance or even a mixed Mance that has Brick Break, not that Brick Break would be the thing to do in this situation, but the Intimidate could matter for both guys. It's also definitely possible that one of them is like a Wish Mence that we don't see a lot of these days, or a straight Special Mence or something like that. Neither one feels comfortable with the matchup. It's a double switch, and Conflict is going to be the one on the better end of the switch because he's got a Metagross against a Lax. See what they both want to do here. Presumably, Conflict just goes straight mash. No, he goes Earthquake instead. Wow, that does a lot, too. 75%. That's either an offensive star, a Choice Band Metagross, or both. But that does huge damage, and if Triangles knows from that calc, which, again, I don't know his spread, but he'll know, if it is in fact Choice Banded, and he can confirm that, which he can one way or another, he should be comfortable going to an Earthquake immunity, which is exactly what he does here. He's going to go Salamence, which obviously would have blanked the Earthquake, but Conflict knew there would be a switch. He gets out of the way as well. We end up with Blissey on Mence, and Blissey probably just stays in here and goes T-Wave or Ice Beam or something. I don't think he should be that afraid. I mean, the worst thing that happens, pending a crit, of course, is just a Choice Band Brick Break, which would do a lot, but I mean, if you're Ice Beaming it in return, is that the end of the world? And Thunder Wave here is very interesting. It's going to hit a dangerous Pokemon in Heracross. Yes, you have slowed it down, and yes, it can full para, so there's definitely some upside to it, but you have also triggered Guts, which makes the Heracross hit like an absolute freight train. As if it didn't hit hard enough before, it is now hitting not like a truck, but a fleet of trucks, and is going to absolutely plow through anything in its path. So Conflict must be very, very careful and precise with his predictions now. Conflict thinking it over here. He's the one taking the time, understandably. Goes to Claydol here, and he was predicting the Rock Slide because he thought that Triangles would go Rock Slide in order to hit the obvious switch-in of Mence, which is why he made this specific switch. because if Triangles had gone Megahorn, obviously Claydol would be super, super dead right now. But Conflict gave Triangles the benefit of the doubt of playing around the Salamence, which is why he made this play, and it was in fact the right read. Rockslide would have actually done more than no damage there, especially if that's a Choice Band Heracross, but with the Guts boost, the thing is just so dangerous, despite the fact that Claydol is a Rock Resist. And this could be the New Age Magdoll from Conflict, in which the last pokes would be a Mag, obviously, as part of Magdoll, and a Coon as the last poke. I've seen a lot of players recently, including in this tournament, opt for a more defensive take on Magdoll, where instead of an offensive-ish Coon and a Lax, they opt to bring Blissey in the Lax spot, and maybe a more defensive Coon that has just the traditional Calm Mind, Surf, Rest, Roar. If you really feel you need Ice Beam somewhere, maybe it's Calm Mind, Surf, Ice Beam, and Rest. 2 attacks exchanged here, Earthquake, Body Slam, 29 and 31% respectively. Both players have brought offensive teams here. There is no T-Tar at the moment. There could still be T-Tar for either player. Magdoll is not the only configuration that Conflict's team could be, but that's what it looks like to me. I think the last two are going to be Mag plus Water, but it's not a guarantee. It could just be like Mag plus T-Tar, but I mean, you've got to think there's a Water in there somewhere. Alright, so now we've got some information. Hidden Powered is 50% to Doll, and it's not super effective, so it's HP Flying, and it's not gaining Lefty. So that's a Choice Band Mence from Triangles. Now we know. And speaking of Choice Banders, I believe this Metagross is Choice Banded as well. Triangles stays in for the recover, and that's a big Meteor Mash, 54%. So are they going to play this game? Dangerous for both. Yes, he can fish for a Meteor Mash miss, but he can also get crit. He can also let Conflict stack up attack raises. There's bad things that could happen to either player there. Conflict says, I'm not playing that game. Goes to Blissey. As it turns out, had he stayed in and Meteor Mashed, he would have killed the Starmie there, so maybe it was worth it to eat a Surf and kill him there. But he also could have just missed the Meteor Mash. I mean, there's a lot of variance that could have happened there. I think staying in hindsight, would have worked out better, but that doesn't make it the right play. Like I said, there's a lot of nonsense that could have happened there. Recover and S-Toss respectively, so a more defensive star. Recover, Surf, T-Wave, and last move, I mean, probably just Rapid Spin, it seems like on this team. Just a supportive, defensive star. It could just be Thunderbolt or something, but I mean, as in general, I don't like bringing Starmie if you're not spinning with it. Yes, offensive star is a thing. There are some matchups where that's threatening, but this is clearly not an offensive Starmie, so you would think the last move in this case is simply Rapid Spin. Meta finds another opportunity to come in. It's Shadow Ball here. As expected, he's not getting lefties. Like I said, I'm pretty damn sure it's Choice Banded here. And that's a big boy Sludge Bomb. 72% is a lot. That's a nice safe play that I doubt Triangles would have expected and has not shown an immunity for. Now, keep in mind with Lax, which has the immunity ability, it can get hit by Sludge Bomb. It would do quite a bit of damage. Lax simply cannot be poisoned. The status. It is not immune to poison-type moves. And Conflict, again, is out-predicting Triangles and out-predicting the Heracross here. Last time, he snuck in Claydol on Rock Slide, where it would have gotten rocked by Megahorn, and now it is the other way around. He's going to sneak in the Salamence on a Megahorn, whereas it would have gotten rocked by Rock Slide. So a couple of nice ones in a row from Conflict. And his Mence is not gaining lefties either, so it is possible that both players had lead Choice Band Salamence, and if that is the case, check the health of both of them, 65 and 70 for Triangles, so they're at comparable health here. Yeah, I mean, the Coon being shown from Conflict here, to me, makes it pretty damn clear, pretty damn hard to imagine that the last poke is anything other than Magneton. That would be my guess. Triangles, I'm sure at this point, if not long before this point, has picked up on that same thought. Now, the last poke for Triangles, I don't know. It could just be like a Swampert or an offensive kind of pert like that. It also could just be a T-Tar or some kind of offensive threat, an Aerodactyl, something along those lines. I mean, if it's not Swampert or Coon or whatever, then he just doesn't have a bulky water. Yeah, I mean, maybe the team's offensive enough to where he can get away with that. There's an unlucky full power turn for Conflict there. Had he gone just with the obvious Meteor Mash, for example, that would have killed the Salamence there. Now, granted, there's a decent chance it doesn't hit because not only the full power, but also the imperfect accuracy. And that's if he even went for Meteor Mash. It's also possible he had just gone EQ or maybe even Boom there. But if that was a mash turn, that's got to be frustrating for Conflict because that would have been a kill had it connected. Surf here on Heracross is big. Megahorn crit. One hit KO there. Remember, guts boost. So through the power and the imperfect accuracy, not only does he hit, but he hits a crit. And Conflict loses Coon straight up from that. That is a rough and relevant piece of hacks that Conflict, again, is on the bad end of. He has not been getting the love from the RNGesus in this particular series. It's not over. This game definitely still winnable for Conflict. The whole set really is, but he's on the back foot now after that. This game is still, I mean, the problem is we know, and I use the word "know" as air quotes, but we know that the last poke for Conflict is Magneton, which it looks like is just not that damn useful in this particular matchup. Wow, another crit. Jesus! Crit para now! Man, Triangles is just catching every piece of hacks that he can get. It's still not over, but man, this has got to be tough for Conflict. And yeah, I mean, Triangles is making the right plays to take advantage of the hacks. Of course you sneak in Heracross on the obvious soft-boiled turn. That's the right thing to do. But man, Conflict cannot catch a break. But anyway, as I was saying, if we think the last move from last Pokemon rather from Conflict is in fact just Magneton, oh no, he's gonna live just barely. Now he would die if there is T-Tar because the sand would kill him. Conflict is just looking for a break somewhere, just like, dude, why can't you miss or full power, or why can't I get a crit or something? It is just not cooperating for him. But finally, I'm going to get this damn thought out no matter what happens in this damn turn. If the last Pokemon for Conflict is Magneton, that just does not seem all that useful in the match, given what is currently shown from Triangles. So, like, even if Conflict evened out this game on paper at 5-5, which he has had a couple of opportunities to do, but, like, say Heracross stayed in there and died, and it's quote-quote 5-5, with it being last poke Mag, I don't know how exciting that is. I don't know if the game is actually all that even if it were 5-5. And it is. No shock. Last poke Mag. Jesus, man. Yeah, real life. I'm just, I'm slumping a little bit. I'm sticking my forehead into my hands. It just, yeah, nothing going Conflict's way, man. It's just, this is not the best example of Pokemon being a skill game. It is, at the end of the day, but man, situations like this, series like this, are tough. I don't know any way around that. Here comes Claydol into the Heracross. I don't know if Conflict can even win at this point. I mean, his stuff is so banged up. Meta's paralyzed. Salamence at 6% would die to the next Gentle Breeze. Claydol not a sweeper. Blissey not a sweeper. Conflict is going to need some BS. I don't even know if he can win, like I said. I mean, like, right there would have been a good opportunity. Maybe had he gotten a crit Earthquake there, which, I mean, wouldn't have even been enough. There's a Wish. That's one way to win. He's going to have to find some window to pass that Wish to the Salamence and just let the Choice Band Ments carry him to victory. Wow, Seismic Toss just short there. Heracross clings to life at 1%, gets the Megahorn off, wrecks Blissey for 72%, but Silver lining, Heracross dies. That's more than nothing, but Conflict is so beyond back against the wall here. I mean, he's my personal hero if he can win this. I can't imagine how Conflict comes back. He is very, very skilled and very, very capable, but this is a lot to ask of anybody. If Conflict finds a way to win this game, I will be almost in awe. I think it is that bad and that unlikely. It really looks like Triangles is just going to bash him 2-0 here, certainly with some luck, but not taking anything away from Triangles. Yes, there have been hacks. Yes, they've been relatively one-sided, but they all count, and Triangles is playing well. And he's just, yeah, he's playing well and catching breaks, and that can be really hard to beat. Conflict there is not going to predict correctly. He needed to probably get him with a Meteor Mash there. Now I think this game is actually over. I think it's now actually impossible for Conflict to win. There's Meta. Yeah, I think this is done. I think this is going to be a 2-0 series victory for Triangles. Conflict has got to be frustrated with the way that this went, and I can't blame him. It is their best of 3, and it is double elimination. None of those things are accidental. It's all for a reason. I mean, at the end of the day, I can only do what I can do. There is luck, there is variance, there is whatever kind of crap that happens in this game, and that's just part of it. But by making all the sets best of 3 and by making the tournament double elimination, I am attempting to do what I can within the realm of reason to minimize things like this being the difference between surviving in the tournament or not. Conflict is going to have a rough go and is all but certainly, he's playing it out, he's not conceding, but Conflict is all but certainly going to lose this round, and hopefully he can make himself a decent run in the lower bracket with a little bit more cooperative RNG. But yeah, Triangles, man, he initially declined the invite into this tournament, and then he had a change of heart, and he paid BKC $20 to give up his spot. So Triangle's clearly motivated, has already put real money into just being allowed to even play in this tournament, which, I mean, I would think shows that he cares, shows that he actually wants to play and has motivation. So I'm glad he had that change of heart, and hopefully he doesn't regret it either. A 1-0 start in this tournament is probably where he wants to be. Hopefully that's encouraging for him. Full para there is insult to injury, but it does not actually matter. He's stuck on Meteor Mash via choice ban, so it really truly doesn't matter. It is now last poke bliss. If either the meta or the lag says boom, there is nothing to prevent simply blowing up on the bliss and ending the game. TUA for good measure, but we really are just going through the motions here. And I'm just going to go ahead and call it. I'm going to continue watching because, you know, that's the right thing to do. We're going to let the game play out to completion. The same way when the NFL game is 42-0 with 8 minutes to go. Yes, the game's over, but they don't just go, okay, boys, go back in the locker room. We are stopping the game. But yeah, this one's all but over. We're going to go through the motions, but the result is going to be a 2-0 series victory for Triangles. He's going to be in the winner's bracket, and Conflict is going to go down. There is the boom, and Blissey goes down, and they discuss in the chat that the meta also had boom, had it come to it. And yeah, that sums it up pretty nicely. Triangle says, GG, except these. And yeah, that's more or less pretty accurate. The hacks definitely mattered. Triangles knows it, not a dick about it, acknowledges that the RNG went his way. I mean, you take it, like I said, you take advantage of it, you play for it, when it comes, but don't be a dick about it. We've all been on the bad end of it before, and today it was Conflict on the bad end of it. Perhaps in the next round, or maybe even rounds after that, should he survive, it'll be different, but today is Triangle's day. He will win the series 2-0, he will be in the winner bracket, and Conflict will be knocked down into the shark-infested lower bracket. Hope you guys enjoyed. There is going to be a lot more content today. There are a lot of matches happening on Sunday. Stay tuned for that. I will see you guys soon.